Now we've got our carburetor put back together, the clean jets are in it, and we're going to go ahead and put it back inside the scooter. Now, just because I hadn't shown you already, this is how our carburetor is going to sit inside the scooter. This top hose is going to just be the plain black hose, the plain black gas line. Now this bottom one, which is going to be located right here, see it's going to be going top to bottom, and your bottom one is going to be the one with the, it's going to be the one with, I don't know how to describe this line, but it's got a spring on it. I guess that's the best way of putting it. It has that silver, it has that gold spring on it. Regular gas line, the one with the spring on it. Just keep that in mind, and when it sits in, it's going to be like that. So top is regular, bottom is gas. Alright, now it's time to put back on our auto choke or fuel enrichment sensor. It's kind of up to you on the names as I've thrown out there. I personally prefer auto choke, but if you want to use fuel enrichment sensor, go right ahead. Alright, now it's time to grab that. Where did I put that in this beautiful light? Alright, so you're going to want to make sure when you're putting back on the auto choke, here, let me get this another close up here. Right here, you see this line? You're going to want to be parallel with the auto choke. You see how it is right here? So that matches the line. Just going to want to get that in there nice and good. Let me take a look. Alright, the auto choke's in. Now, you're going to want to put on this little brace that just slides right in there. Now the trick, all of my stuff has tricks in it. Whoops, almost dropped that screw down the hole. Now all my stuff has tricks in it. Now you're going to want to put in your first screw only about halfway. You do not want to tighten this down. Otherwise, then you're going to be running into a lot of problems, and it makes it much harder to put on the other screw, the second screw in. So you're going to want to get this in, going about halfway down. Let me see here. If I could get this thing going in, that would be great, but obviously has different plans at this moment. Let's see here. What's wrong with you? Okay, just does not like the angle at which I am screwing this. So now it's going. There we go. Alright, so you're only going to want to get it down about halfway, just tight enough so that it will hold it down. This will keep you from having troubles putting in the second screw. It does take a little bit of force down. I think that was my issue right there. I'm just going to want to hold that parallel just like any other screw. Get some force on it. Just start screwing down. Shoot. But as you can see, it's in. And you just tighten. And with all these screws, you don't want to tighten them too much because the steel will strip very easily. So you're just going to get some pressure when you're screwing it down. Just put some pressure on it, and that will keep it from stripping. Now, our next step is after I get this back on, and make sure you put back on your heat shield. This thing does get very, very hot. So now we pull back out our heat shield and put that on top. Alright, now our next step is to put back on the gas lines, and I did kind of drill that into your head about which way it goes. Now, you're going to want to go ahead and take this gas line, as you can see. Let me pull this camera over a little bit over here, and you're going to go ahead and pull this gas line out, connect it into the bottom, like this. Move your clip into position. I'm sorry, not the bottom. You're going to want to put this on the top. Please, please, please put this on the top, because that's where you're going to run into your problems. This gas line goes on the top. The other one goes on the bottom. Problem is I just pulled the clip right off. Alright, there we go. So, get your top on. Now the one with the silver spring, sparkle, whatever you want to call this, you're going to want to hold it, pull back on the tube a little bit so that you can get some workspace. Just shove that right on there. Because, trust me, it is annoying as hell trying to get this thing back on. Especially with that spring there. Okay, now, our next step before we're done, we're going to want to put on our accelerator cable. And that will be where? Let's go ahead and find out where that accelerator cable went. Oh, here it is. Okay, so now my next step is to put on my accelerator cable, which goes underneath the gas line. Be very careful to put that underneath the gas line. Okay, now, you're going to want to put on this end first, like so. Pull it back. Pull back on it. You're going to want to adjust it so that when you're looking at your line, you're going to want to put this on first. But you're going to want to adjust it so your line has, if you want it to be more responsive, you make the line very tight so that when you just pull back on the trigger, it just goes, and it just very, very tight. So that's going to be an extremely responsive. And that, just to warn you, when you do something like that, it will fly. And you're going to go ahead and pull back out your adjustable wrench and get a good size on it. If it does fit. If it doesn't fit, then screw it. You can always use your hands. Alright. Let's go ahead and pull out the wrench again. Alright, there we go. Just going to want to make sure it's nice and tight. There you go. Alright, now, next step, reconnect, put on, shove the carburetor back into the intake manifold and on the exhaust. We're going to connect the exhaust first, and as I said before, it does take a little bit of pressure. It's not the easiest connection in the world, but once you get it back on, you're good. Alright, let's go ahead and pull that back in. Now you're going to connect it to the intake manifold. Go ahead and connect it into here. Alright, our intake manifold's connected. And you're just going to tighten up those clamps. Now when you're tightening, you're going to want to put your finger underneath the screw to make sure that it stays parallel to the ground. Otherwise, you're going to run into a lot of issues. Just, it's much harder to screw in that way. Just make it easier on yourself. Do the right thing the first time. Alright, there we go. Let me just go ahead and throw this up a little tighter. Alrighty. Now, our last step is to reattach the seat. I'm going to go ahead, lift up our seat, put it back down, put it in. It does take, sometimes it takes a little bit of adjustment, wiggle around, but nice and easy this time. So I'm not going to argue with the easy. Just going to go ahead and finger tighten all the bolts just so that it gets started, so when I hit it with the drill, just all works nice and easy. And I'm not sure how much of this you can be seeing, but you do it exactly the same way you took it out.